Okay, Garrett. You've convinced me it's a pro dev tool. We've been over this. We've got web templates, we got web files so that we can start to modularize our code. We've got the ability to pass in some inputs and outputs, right? At least the definition in that manifest. And we can even prove that we can send more complicated objects in, say, JSON structure. All right. But I want to build dynamic objects. I don't just want to pass in something flat, and I want to build more mature objects. I want to see that I can bring in a set of objects in that JSON, build out something dynamic, modularize it, right? Or we've already seen modularization, but that I can build something complex and use a modern framework in order to render it.
Hmm.
How do we start to do this? How do we move past the hello world kind of stuff you've been showing and into something that really looks user ready?
Yeah, great questions. So there's a few things that I want to show. First and foremost, I'm going to mention something called Bootstrap. Seasoned developers may be kind of familiar with Bootstrap already, but it's kind of like a framework that's meant to make CSS easier, I guess, is kind of the best way to say it. It's pretty nice little toolkit. It's got a bunch of pre-built components. Like we're looking at the documentation for accordion right here, which by now you probably think I'm just obsessed with accordions, but um, it's a nice easy element to the demo. So with our
Right.
accordion here, we've actually got something pre-built that's reactive, functional, and the advantage with Bootstrap and Power Pages is Power Pages itself actually is built on Bootstrap. So
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
already, yeah, it's already
Cool.
just kind of embedded in there, making
You
it
don't have to
really,
load it at all. It's just
no,
already sitting there, huh?
yeah, you don't have to load anything at
I like
all. So it's
that.
already
I
there.
like that
So
a lot.
yeah, it makes it very, very simple.
And most of the web is built on Bootstrap these days, so
Yeah, a
let's
lot of
get
things are
in
built
there,
on
right?
Bootstrap. Yeah, I believe it originated at Twitter, but it's been around for a while. We're on version 5 something now. And I actually should mention older versions of Power Pages are going to use 3.3.6, but newer pages use 5.0, or
Okay.
newer ones use 5.0. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for
Is that
documentation.
pivot around the time when the data model changed, or
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Since like back when it was ADX, I think they used 3.3.6, but now that it's Power Pages, it's 5.0. So,
as
it's
long as you're using Power Pages and not like
yeah.
Power Pages, then you're good to go, right?
Yeah, I think you can kind of use that as a good rule of thumb. So,
Okay.
um yeah, so it's just as easy, like, I mean, we could literally copy paste this set of code here and drop it in and into a web template and make something, but we're actually going to do a little bit more complicated. So I did kind of copy the code here. We're not going to bother coding it live because it'd be take a long time, and who has the time, you know? Um,
That's why we
so
do it in advance. Come on.
yeah, exactly. So we're doing this one in advance. So I'm going to dive in. We're doing an accordion item list JSON, just like we did in the last one. That'll just
Okay, so
be,
we're gonna pass in that JSON object and
hmm,
build out a
yeah, we're going to
complicated
pass in a JSON object. Might as well go over it real quick. So this is a pretty simple one, an array called accordion items. It has a
one.
bunch of objects. We've got an ID, a heading, and a body, all pretty simple. And
What more do you need from an accordion, right?
exactly. You don't really need much more. And really, the only HTML we actually have here is just a div with an ID called accordion div. And that's it.
Now we're having fun. Now we're
Yeah.
having
The
fun.
rest of
Build
your
it all on the fly. I
yeah, the
like
rest of
it.
your HTML is going to be completely dynamically generated by the JavaScript. So, um,
Yes.
yeah, and you
Yes.
can actually see that because we've already got it plugged into the WYSIWYG. This is indeed our component here, but it just doesn't render anything because
That's
since it's all
beautiful.
done in JavaScript, it doesn't have
And
anything to render right away because it
this
doesn't
brings
execute the
up the
JavaScript.
topic for me, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that this renders all the time. I feel like maybe a best practice, one thing, and we should maybe do a whole video on this, but a best
Hmm.
practice has got to be something like building an HTML elements that are only there to be rendered statically, and then your JavaScript will rip them out,
Yeah. Like we
and then put in
yeah.
the dynamic content, right?
Yeah.
Just like the editor experience has a placeholder that that looks like
Yeah.
it's going to do that.
There's definitely something to be said for a placeholder because
Yeah.
at first when I saw this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I must have screwed it up royally." But turns out it was all there. It just wasn't executing the JavaScript because that's what happens in the WYSIWYG. So yeah. Um, but anyway, so we were doing something similar to what we did with our list in the last one, where we're grabbing the element by its ID being accordion div, and then we're changing up the inner HTML. So we're just doing the same thing. We're parsing our JSON string, and then we're going to use a map function to go over all the items in our JSON after it's been deserialized. And yeah, we just like over in the Bootstrap documentation, we've got, accordion item, accordion header, accordion button, accordion body. And you'll notice we've got all the same things here: item, header, button, and body down here. Yeah. And we're basically just replacing anything that's hard coded, any hard coded numbers. Like you've got heading 1 here. So that becomes heading dash accordion ID. So we're just replacing those, making it totally dynamic. And yeah, just tossing in accordion heading and accordion body, which again are coming from our JSON here. And we're just returning that. And that basically runs itself and attaches it all to the inner HTML.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I come from like a React background, right? And I
Mhm.
think in terms of JSX or TSX, right?
Yeah.
Where like returning a massive string like that makes me pause, right?
Mhm.
Is there like a way to do it that's not returning a string, but it's like returning objects, kind of like that JSX or TSX way, right?
Um, maybe.
All right,
I
fair
don't
enough.
immediately know.
Let's take
Yeah.
that as a we'll put a pin in that one.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in
Put a
that
pin in
one.
that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a couple things you could do, but we're trying to keep it vanilla
Keep
as
it simple.
possible.
Keep
Yeah,
it simple. Right.
trying to
Yeah,
keep it
yeah.
as vanilla as possible
I
right
can't I
now.
can't help it, man. I see that. I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to make it a
Yeah.
little more complicated.
So I did slightly goof something up. You'll notice that on first load, both of these are blue when only the selected one's supposed to be blue. So I'll have to investigate that, but it's a minor thing. So what I want to show though is that the accordion works just the same. This is our custom Power Pages site. We've got, accordions that show and hide, and they even look nice. They kind of almost look in theme, which integrating the portal theme is something we'll cover down the line.
Yeah, I also noticed I didn't see you bring in style, so you're pulling style from the page itself
Yeah,
too, right?
exactly. So that's the thing about Bootstrap is it has kind of a default out of the box styling. And that's, yeah, when I say like it's a CSS framework, it's very much a CSS framework, in that you've got all these kind of pre-styled components. Like if I were to go to, we'll say card, right? So this is a bunch of styling all mixed in here, but all you have to do is do class card, class card image, class card body,
Okay.
and that
All
it
right.
automatically
And then we
applies.
override card if we want card to
Yeah,
be.
that's true. Yeah. So one little trick of this is um the Bootstrap is actually at the lowest level of the CSS. So any custom CSS that you upload
Just gonna
will
stack.
kind of, yeah, supersede the Bootstrap. So I mean, that's really only majorly
All right.
applicable if you have like class names that conflict. Like you'll actually notice I am giving a class accordion, which I had done in my own custom CSS. So I had to disable that CSS in order to get the Bootstrap to take over.
Okay.
But it's just that easy, or you can kind of keep an eye on what the class names are and avoid any clashes there. So
Good reason to be more specific with your class names, right?
exactly, yeah.
No such thing as specific enough.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you have any questions I can answer?
Awesome, Garrett. I
Yeah.
like. I can really see how I would use this. Like, I can really now see how you could build a
Yeah.
very clean, stylized page in a hurry. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. And
really fast. You can start cranking out components with something like this.
yeah. And I
And
guess
just
it's
knowing what the class name is, and then just saying, "Hey, listen, card from now on,
easy. Yeah.
background is this color, right?
Yeah.
Like now on accordion, the header background is this color, right?"
Yeah. And their
And it would
documentation's
be
fantastic.
incredibly fast.
Yeah. Their documentation's fantastic. I mean, it has, pretty real world examples, dummy text for the most part, but it's got everything you'd need to get started. And Bootstrap is completely free, open source. So anybody can use it. Um, And
Nice.
yeah, so
I also
that
love that
is
it's just baked in. It's already there on the
it's
page,
already
right?
there.
You
You
don't
don't
have to
even have to
load
bring it in,
anything,
yeah. So you don't, like, have
right?
any extra resources or anything to load that'll take extra time and,
It's like the virtual
headroom, so
PCFs where React is already there. You don't
Mhm.
need now that they're
Exactly.
GA. Before they were GA, not so much. But like
Yeah.
now that they're GA, it's already there. You can just
Mhm.
use it. That's a
Yeah.
huge advantage.
It's nice, it's clean, yeah, so yeah, this is great. It's a pretty fun thing, and yeah, that's since it's all built on Bootstrap, it all kind of looks like it's in tune with each other already. So, you don't have to do a whole lot of work on styling things since things already kind of look bootstrappy. So, because Bootstrap has a very defined look, that is one criticism that some people levy against it, is that like it does have its own specific look. Um,
It looks very bootstrap,
yeah, it looks
right?
like Bootstrap, and like it's not the easiest thing to customize, but sometimes that might be exactly what you want. You can get a website up and off the
Sometimes what you want
ground
is fun,
in not a
right?
whole lot of
Sometimes
time.
what you want is looks good and fast, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I mean that's why we're in a low code platform, right? Because
Mhm.
fundamentally, a lot of the time, what people want is looks good and fast.
Yes, exactly, and Bootstrap for sure fits that descriptor, so no doubt about it.
I
Alright.
like it. I like it,
Yeah.
Garrett. Good stuff. Thank you so
Alright.
much for showing me this. I'm
Yeah, sure
excited about what
thing.
comes next.
Yeah, yeah. What comes next? We're gonna dive into a little library called Alpine.js, which
You
is a
mentioned
pretty
this.
fun way to make things even more dynamic and do so without a whole lot of JavaScript code. And you never even leave HTML to do it. So yeah, it's gonna
I'm looking
be
forward to that. I'm
yeah,
looking forward
it's
to
gonna
that.
be really nice. So yeah. All
All right.
right.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah,
Talk
thanks for
soon.
joining me today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.